What's the decision that you need to make that's going to change everything? What is it? What's the decision that you need to make that changes everything? Rebuilding self trust. Doing that and focusing on that for the rest of the year. Because once you really start trusting yourself, that's game changer. So, I'm Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here to help you to create a life that your career can't destroy. And when you think about self trust, right now you don't trust yourself because you repeatedly abandon yourself. But now is the time to intentionally not only commit, but recommit to systems that allow you to build and or rebuild that trust. And with it being the last full week of this month of July, that official halfway point of the year, now's the time to start thinking about it so you can set your intentions as you're beginning to think about and plan for August. And so let's look at what's actually happening. If you've stopped trusting yourself, it didn't happen overnight. Or I should say it probably didn't happen overnight. It happened one small choice, decision, commitment, broken promise at a time. How many times have you started over telling yourself, I'll start again on Monday, or I'll start again next month? How many times have you done that? And that can be from something as simple as, I'm going to start planning out my week, picking out my clothes, meal prepping, working out, to something maybe even bigger of, I'm going to start this business or quit this job, look for a job, go all in, whatever it is, from small to big. And if we're talking about small things, how many times have you told yourself, I'm going to leave work on time? I'm going to actually leave work on time. How many times have you done it? What about taking a lunch? I'm going to remember to actually pack my lunch. I'm not going to eat out. Or I'm going to actually take my lunch break. What about some of those bigger things? I'll start, putting myself first once this, busy season ends. When I get out of this trial period, when I can get through this motion, once I can close this case. Now, what's really happening is that every time any of those small or even larger items you don't do, you're actually abandoning yourself. You're leaving yourself out there stranded, waiting for this thing to happen. Like there's this open loop that you haven't closed. And so all that you're doing by leaving these loops open is collecting more and more evidence that your word ain't bond, that your word doesn't matter, that your word means nothing. But then we wonder why, when it comes to making change, it feels oh so hard. It's happening because you don't trust yourself. It's happening because you've repeatedly, consistently, over time, shown yourself or even told yourself that I can't be trusted. I can't be trusted with myself. And because my word isn't bond to myself, though I may or may not keep these promises that I make to other people, I can't trust me when it comes to me. But the rest of the year is determined by the things that you do now. And so I want you to really think about, where are you abandoning yourself? Where have you neglected yourself? Where have you not kept your word to yourself? So if we can understand what's happening, the fact that you are breaking promises, keeping and creating all these open loops, why? Why is this thing happening? Now, you're thinking that it's lack of motivation. But we have to stop looking for this motivation to be the end all be all, to be the thing that's going to cause us to show up. You need to rebuild self-trust, and that starts with a decision. Self-trust, and it even goes to a clubhouse room that I did earlier today. We were talking about when it comes to showing up for self, having and building faith in these small things. Now, self-trust itself is not created by having this big reset. So the whole I'll start after this, I'll start next month, I'll start next Monday, next quarter, next year, whatever. These big resets that oftentimes that's why you're waiting for that thing versus I'll start tomorrow. Self trust really comes from small actions. It comes through the small but consistent actions that you're taking. So when you tell yourself, I'm going to go to bed, when you tell yourself, I'm going to get off the phone, when you tell yourself, I'm going to wake up early, when you tell yourself, I'm going to leave work on time, when you tell yourself, I'm going to take my lunch break, these small actions reinforce for you not only can you keep your word to yourself, can you show up for yourself, can you do things and do hard things, but it also shows you, it shows you the word I want to use. Yeah, it also shows you and helps you to see that I can follow through. And through these small actions, through these small promises that you're keeping to yourself, you also are starting to put up these boundaries to show that your word is bond, to show that you can be relied on, to show that you can do the thing that you say that you can do. And following through one task at a time, one promise at a time, one intention at a time is going to help you. And what it really helps you do is protect and conserve your energy. And by helping you protect and conserve your energy and show up for you and show up for yourself, instead of keep giving it away, what really kind of happens is that you see that it's possible. And so if we understand that we've been just neglecting ourselves and going with the flow and all of that jazz, and we can understand what's happening and why it's happening, the question becomes what needs to change. Because if you want the next month to be different, the rest of this quarter, the rest of this year, any part of your life to actually be different, you have to do something differently. Because what's insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. We're past that. We're past that. We're past continually and consistently doing that. So what you decide right now, motivation aside, it's a decision. What do I like to say? If you change your perspective, if you change your mindset, you can change your life. Perspective is how you're looking at it. You're looking at motivation being the thing that helps you to do. What if you just decide? What if my decision is all that I need? I was setting my intention for the week, like last night when I was kind of like doing my brain dump. And the intention that I set for this week is I'm committed to the things that I said that I'm committed to. I'm not negotiating with me. And if we start looking at it from that lens, if we start saying that if I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. We tell other people that. We tell other people we're going to do stuff and we show up for them. But what about the decisions that you've made to show up for yourself? Where are those? Because every time you decide something and you stick with it, not only have you decided, but you've committed to that decision. If you don't decide what deserves your time, your energy, your focus, even your motivation, if you don't decide where your attention is going, where your time is going, what you're using your time for, and instead you let your motivation determine it, all you're going to really do is go and bounce from thing to thing and ebb and flow and let everyone else's priorities become your priority. Because if you don't decide, if you just go with the wind and with the ebb and flow, you're allowing others to decide for you. So the question becomes what needs to change? This isn't about starting over. I understand new week, new month, all of those things. But this isn't about starting over. It's about you tuning back into you. It's about you returning to you. It's about you recommitting. You don't need motivation. You need to decide. Commitment is a decision. Recommitting is redeciding. It's a decision. And so you're deciding and or committing or recommitting to putting you first, to prioritizing yourself, to making the decision that's gonna make the change. I think about decisions that I've made in life, and even honestly in this business, to get to this point, to get to this place. And though there's still many more levels and many more layers to go and more change to be made, I can think about when I used to say that I don't like change. But I had to decide that I wasn't going to say that and I wasn't going to believe that, because I don't mind changing. I just like to be in control. And I can admit that. But if I'm saying that I'm okay with change, I just have to change the viewpoint that I had about change. And so I decided to focus on controlling what I can control. Because I can plan all I want and I can decide all I want. And my decision became that I control the controllable. So no matter what happens, no matter how much change there is, I'm always in control of my response. And if I can control my response, I'm deciding that this is all going to work out for me. Everything always works out for my good. There's a lesson and a blessing in everything, and I'm always looking for the lesson, for the blessing. That, God's protection, and that delay isn't denial. All of those type of things. And I know some of those are cliche phrases, but I've decided and I believe that that's how I show up. I've decided and I believe, and as a result, that's how I show up. It's really the better way to say it. So what needs to change for you? What commitment, what decision do you need to make to come back to you? To the person who trusted themselves, to the person who believed in themselves, to the person who doesn't negotiate with themselves, who understands and identifies and knows what's the plan, who knows and understands the non-negotiables. Now look, I tell y'all to do a brain up and make a to-do list each and every week, because that helps you to identify what are you deciding is the priority today, this week. What have you identified as the non-negotiables? What have you decided is the boundary or is worth protecting? Now look, I talk a lot about, structure and systems and habits and routines, and all that is fine and dandy. But hearing the words and putting it to action is different. So what needs to change? What routines, what habits, what systems, what structures do you need to put in place that fit your life, your real life, the life that you live day in and day out, the one that you wake up to and go to bed to? What needs to change for that? Let your systems, let your structure, let your habits and routines flex. Let this be the flex zone. Let this be the place where you adjust and you're flexible. Don't change your standards. Don't change your values. Those are your core. Those are the end all be all. But your system that allows you to stay in tune with your values and your values and your morals, the routines that might have to be adjusted a little bit, let those flex. Because we talk about success, and I talk about success, the sustainable, the difference between hustling and grinding and working hard. Sustainable success isn't built on willpower. Sustainable success is built around you deciding what needs to change and changing that thing. Sustainable success is built on you keeping the promises that you make to yourself. So no, you don't have to change everything to become this new version of you. You need to go back to the version of you that believed in you. And if you're like, I don't know that version of me, or I don't know when I had that version, or I don't know how to get back to that version, it starts with the decision. All of this comes down to deciding. It all comes down to the decision. Because when we really take it back, when we really think about what's happening, when you think about the fact that what's happening is you're not trusting yourself, you're not believing in yourself, and because of that, you're not showing up for yourself, or the way in which you show up still allows you to abandon yourself and put yourself last because of all this evidence that you've collected that you can't be trusted. If we understand that that's what's happening, we then have to decide, why is it happening? And if we understand that you've been seeking and searching for motivation instead of deciding or committing or recommitting to trusting yourself through the small actions by choosing and identifying small steps that you can take each and every day to put you and to push you to be and become the person you're looking to be and become. Protect your time through protecting your energy. Protect your calendar through protecting your time. It all comes down to change. And we say that change is hard and change feels hard because you haven't decided that change is a part of who you are, that growing, evolving, being intentional, all of that is a part of you. If you don't decide what deserves your time, your energy, your focus, your attention, your capacity, and you let life decide for you, you just gonna keep going with the wind. And so for many of you, that's exactly what needs to change. What needs to change is you deciding what deserves your time, your focus, your attention. You deciding what you say yes to. You deciding what's the priority. You deciding what is your focus and what is your intention. And so once you can really decide, once you can really identify what needs to change and decide that you're going to do that, that's when it all comes together. Because at the end of the day, you don't wake up one day and start trusting yourself. You can wake up one day and decide that you're going to start trusting yourself and then building the habits, the practices, the things that supports that decision. And then at the end of the day, maybe not literally that same day, but then at the end of the day, you'll be back in a place to where you can trust yourself because you've recommitted to that. You've turned back to you. And so if you're ready to stop starting over, if you're ready to stop starting over, if you're ready to start building and or rebuilding that trust with yourself and in yourself, let's talk. Let's work together. But what I want to kind of leave you with and what I want you to really think about is what's one promise that you're ready to start keeping for yourself again. Let this week, as you're starting to think about how do I want to show up for myself this week, be the place where you decide what's one promise you're ready to start keeping for yourself again. I want you to sit with that. I want you to think about that. But if you're ready to stop starting over and to start rebuilding trust with yourself, I'm Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here to help you to create a life that your career can't destroy. Let's create a plan that actually works with your real life. You can send me a DM. You can comment below. Let's start the conversation. Let's look at and see what that could be. This decision changes everything. Let's focus on rebuilding trust and self-trust with ourselves for the rest of this year. So, it's been Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here for another Sunday of You've Guessed It, the Success Starter series. We'll be back next week. We'll be in a new month, new theme. I'm actually working on my content planning for the month. And so, I'll see y'all next week. Coach Lee is